UFC Des Moines just wrapped up last night. Overall, it was a pretty subpar card. Not too many exciting finishes on it, but in this video, I'm going to be reacting and breaking down every fight from the first card on the event to the main event with Corey Sandhagen and Figueiredo. Some weird shit happened in that one, but um, overall, just a very mediocre fight night. I think we kind of knew that that was going to be the case moving into this one, but let's get right to it. Absolute barn burner of a first fight, as we expected. Not much to talk about. The UFC is killing me with these late cards, and if you're gonna make us stay up until 1 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast, and worse in like the UK and some of these other countries, please, for the love of Christ, give us a better card than this if you're going to start it at 7 p.m. I took a 30-minute bathroom break and didn't miss much. Somehow Juliana Miller wins this fight. Ivana Petrovic needs to reevaluate some things. Neither of these women deserve to be in the UFC and need to be in the UFC. Uh, I thought that Juliana Miller should have been cut after her last fight, after her last loss, but snoozer. Very mediocre skill. Sad to see this type of this level at the UFC. It's a bit embarrassing. So not much to talk about there. Dontel Mays, probably going to be the last that we see him in the UFC. Looked like he didn't even want to be in there. I mean, just did not look like he wanted to be in there. Peterson's got some really good wrestling. He used it very effectively. I scored this fight 10-8 every single round. I thought that round two and round three were probably the most dominant, but round one was still an argument to be made for a 10-8. Dontel literally had zero technical ability to get out of a side control or a bottom half guard. It was extremely, extremely boring. Uh, when you are 265 fucking pounds and you are laying on top of somebody in chest to chest, top half guard, why are you not trying to get him out of there? We saw Corey Sandhagen in the main event, who is 135 pounds, landing more devastating ground and pound than a 265 mammoth of a man. Make that make sense to me. Why is it become such a normal thing in the UFC for fighters to coast to a win? And I'm not saying that Thomas Peterson, edged out a close one here. He was dominating and knew that Dontel had no answers for him. There was no threat of Thomas Peterson getting reversed in a position on the bottom or on the ground. There was just not any threat of it. There was not once that Dontel threatened actually getting his frames back and regaining his guard and playing any type of feet in the hips to try and get back up. There was none of that. And yet Peterson just stayed there and laid on him like a fat wet blanket. No threat to try and finish the fight, especially there in the third. It was so frustrating. And then you see the 10-second timer get clapped, and then he wants to try and get him out of there. It's like, why are you waiting for the last 10 seconds to actually try and do something? You had 15 minutes, you had almost 15 minutes of control time, and you waited until the last 10 seconds to try and get him out of there. That's the shit that's killing the UFC right now. That's the shit that is making the casuals stop watching. It's the stuff that's making us diehard fans annoyed when we are watching shit like this. It's like 15 minutes gone. Dontel Mays throws less than 30 strikes in 15 minutes. And I think Thomas Peterson, if he was more active on the top when he had those positions, he he could have got him out of there. We could have been looking at a very impressive finish. Not that it's impressive to finish Dontel Mays, but you get what I'm saying. But it's so frustrating seeing a 265 plus pound man not try and get his opponent out of there when he is very clearly on the top. All right. Gaston Bolaños and Quang Lee. This fight did not go any way that I thought it was going to. Lee was very dominant. His grappling was it was very apparent that his grappling was better. Um, he didn't do a lot of damage in the first round. The first round, he took Gaston down, um, and didn't do much damage. He had a lot of pressure. His jiu-jitsu was really good. He kept him very, very defensive on the ground, but there wasn't any threats of real damage. And then round two, Quang Lee takes him down again with a single leg. And this time, uh, round two, Gaston found a little bit of success in striking. They both did. I'm not saying that either one of these was like a barn burner, but both of these guys were tagging each other up a little bit come the second round. It was a more competitive round while it lasted. Uh, and Gaston throws like a front kick, and it wasn't like a teep kick that was real sharp like a jab. He kind of just threw it out there to find his range or something. It was a very, very lazy kick, and Quang Lee caught it and ultimately took him down. Gets to his back and puts him to sleep, flattens him out, rear naked choke, sinks it in. I think he was out for a couple seconds before the ref decided to step in and get Quang off of him, but domination. I mean, Gaston Bolaños has a lot to work on the ground, especially after that domination. He got exposed. He had zero answers for Quang Lee. Zero. Zero. But great win. Great win for Lee. I was really excited for this one. I kind of knew this was how this one was going to go. I also had a feeling that we were going to see Marina Rodriguez hang it up after this one. She's not a spry young cat. She's 1-5 in her last 6 fights after this last loss. It was time for her to hang it up. There was a very brief period there in like 2023 maybe where she was a prospect in the strawweight division, but now she's just getting steamrolled. It seems like she's not making any adjustments. Jillian Robertson made it look very, very easy. Jillian Roberts was quick to get a single leg takedown pretty much as soon as the fight started. It was within the first minute. Immediately goes chest to chest. And Jillian Roberts is a strawweight. And again, she was more active and more devastating with her ground and pound than a 265 plus pound man in Thomas Peterson. And that's why people get behind and want to see Jillian fight, is because if she is not hunting for a submission, she's hunting for some devastating ground and pound. If she's got you on the ground, she's not just holding you there. She gets chest to chest, she postures up, she throws down elbows, she cross faces you super hard, you turn back into her, she throws more elbows. I mean, she is constantly trying to get her opponent out of there. And that's why people enjoy watching her. She pretty much dominated the first round, clearly a 10-9. Round two, Jillian shoots in a little far away. She didn't really, I think because of the success that she had in round one, she decided that she would just go for a takedown regardless of how far out she was. And when she shot, Marina actually almost pulled a Gene Silva and hits a ninja choke. Jillian had to respect it, fell to her back, or didn't fall to her back. She took Marina down. Uh, Ended up getting out of the ninja choke. Ultimately, I think it was a big lapse in judgment on Marina's part after showing that she had no answer of getting on the ground. Why are you going to take a chance in a submission that you've never hit before in MMA on a really, really talented jiu-jitsu fighter? It was a big lapse in judgment. She ends up on her back after trying the ninja choke. Jillian mounts her, starts raining down nasty 12-6 elbows. I fucking love 12-6 elbows. I'm so glad that the UFC did that because some people, even though being on bottom when you're in bottom mount or bottom half guard, some people just stall there. But with 12-6 elbows, you can't just shell up. Like those 12-6 elbows are going to split the guard at some point and makes people move. So I fucking love it. I love the 12-6 elbows. But I really, really like Jillian Robertson at strawweight. I think she's one of the only women right now that could actually give Wei Li a run for her money. She's got a really good jiu-jitsu and takedown offense. Her takedown offense is solid, and Wei Li has like a 75% takedown defense. So I think stylistically it'd be such a fun matchup. I think her striking still has a lot to improve before she gets that title shot, but we see her improvement every single fucking fight, and it's awesome. Really glad to see Marina hang it up. I was tired of seeing her around. 7 strikes thrown or landed the whole match. So dominant performance for Jillian. Uh, I like it a lot. She calls out Amanda Lemos. I really like that fight. I think she does the same thing to Amanda Lemos. I think she gets easy single legs, dumps Amanda Lemos, hangs out in top half guard, does some damage, and then ends up ultimately submitting her. So we'll keep an eye on Jillian Robertson. She's surging in the strawweight division. I think she's gonna get a title shot within the next few fights. Ryan Loder and Azamat Bakayev. Man, we know now why the odds makers had this the way they had it and why he is 20-3. This is a bad, bad man here. Bad man. Ryan Loder is no can. No can. He has way less experience for sure. But Azamat made that look easy. Like he could have just done that shit in his sleep. Absolutely floors Ryan Loder. It was a little bit of a late stoppage, in my opinion. I think I think uh I think the Green Goblin could have got in there a little earlier and stopped it. But I mean, he made quick work of Ryan Loder. Quick work. Ah, man. Let's see what the UFC division in the middleweight's looking like at the in the top like 15. It's an absolute disgrace that they gave Magomedov a fucking ranking after that absolute snoozer that he put us through last weekend. Fuck that. That's actually crazy. We should feed him Azamat and just let Azamat fuck him up and take his ranking. I'm here for it, honestly. He's probably not going to get a ranked. I just wanted to see who was in the last few rankings in the middleweight division. But I mean, with the 20-3 record and a finish like that, and I think he's 3-0 in the UFC now, 2-0 in the UFC. So they probably give him one more unranked fight and then give him a ranked fight. But he's gonna be a problem at middleweight. He's gonna be a fucking problem. Excited to see where this guy goes, but tough one for Ryan Loder. Tough matchup to have. 20-3. That's a ton of experience. He's got 10 fights under his belt. Double the experience here, more than double. So anytime you've got that much of a discrepancy in experience, you're gonna see it come out, and we saw it pretty fucking obvious tonight. Not only in this fight here, but in the Bo Nickal fight. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Exactly how I thought this fight was going to go. Misha Tate is talking all this about, oh, I'm gonna make this, nasty, and I'm gonna win, and then she did the same shit she's been doing the entire time Misha Tate has been fighting. Yana had a both of these women came out with some strong strikes in the clinch. Um, I think Misha had some pretty low IQ moments in round one. Went for a couple judo throws against Yana that were pretty half-assed, and ended up giving her back a couple times. And Santos was getting her jab going a bit towards the end of round one. Her jabs ended up being a pretty big factor in this fight. She started tagging Misha up pretty good with it as the fight progressed, but she really started finding her range with her jab towards the end of round one, and cut Misha open a little bit. So I had it 10-9 Santos. And round two and round three were kind of a lot of the same. Santos popping that jab out there, Misha Tate coming in aggressive, landing a few shots of her own, but getting tagged up while getting her strikes off. And Misha was a little bit more active. She was first, and she was the one that was kind of initiating exchanges. But Yana Santos was popping that jab when Misha was coming in, and I think to the judges it made it look, it was a 29-28 every round. I don't think that there was a single round that Misha won. Um, but Yana Santos did a really good job of taking away Misha Tate's combinations and her ability to get going with her striking with popping that jab out there. But what's crazy is we'll still see Misha Tate come back, and she'll still fight for another fucking. She's 38 years old. Like I said, she took that 5-year layoff. I don't know why the fuck she came back. No one wanted to see Misha Tate come back and fight. No one. Not a single fucking person. But good win for Yana Santos. I don't know what they'll do with Misha Tate, if she'll keep fighting or not, but she didn't make any sort of retirement announcement, which leads me to believe that we're going to be graced with her presence again in another fight here soon. But moving on. I will be the first to admit that I was wrong about Jeremy Stephens. I wasn't wrong in the fact that he doesn't belong in the UFC. I still believe that. I still believe that it's crazy to bring a guy that was before this fight 29 and 21 back into the UFC after he's been fighting bare knuckle for however many years now. But Mason Jones and Jeremy Stephens was an absolute barn burner. Jones, he got a lot of boos from the crowd. I think it was just because Stephens is an American and Mason is from Wales, but he kind of Mason kind of leaned into it a bit and played the heel, and came out with some strong teep kicks, and some strong leg kicks from Jeremy Stephens. Um, Mason Jones hit a couple spinning heel kicks. He threw his first one in round one, and Jeremy Stephens partially blocked it, but right on the money. It was very accurate. Um, and after he threw the spinning heel kick, Jones lands a head kick on Stephens. And after that, Stephens comes back and cracks Jones with a hard two, and immediately his left eye starts swelling up. Immediately. Both guys tagged each other up pretty good in the first round. I thought Jones did a little bit more with his leg kicks. Those strong teep kicks were doing. You could tell they were bothering Jeremy, and they were perfect. I mean, he was at the perfect range for those teeps, just digging it right under the sternum. So Jones took round one 10-9. Round two, I thought Mason Jones poured it on a lot heavier in round two. The knee that Jeremy Stephens ate and stayed up was fucking crazy. I mean, you cannot doubt his chin. Jeremy Stephens, at 40 years old and 50 plus fights, still has an iron chin, which is just insane. but he ate a huge knee. Not sure how he stayed up, and then he rocks Mason. This is the type of fight that the fans want. This is the fight that will stay up until 1 a.m. gladly watching, because these guys are trying to get each other out of there actively, actively. But they were scrapping in round two. Jones cut Jeremy Stevens pretty bad, and he was wearing it. Jeremy Stevens was wearing it. But I had 10-9 Jones. Again, Jones ended up on Stevens' back to end the round, just like he did in round one. Wasn't necessarily threatening any submissions, but a good visual for the judges to end up on the back. Not saying that round two was going in Stevens' way, but we all know that judges are fucking insane and delusional, and there very well could have been a judge that had the round two for Stevens until Mason Jones got the takedown, ended up on his back, kind of threatening somewhat of a rear naked choke. Nothing too serious, but it wasn't enough to even get a submission attempt. So it was just more of a visual for the judges. But I still had him clearly winning round two. Round two was crazy, right? The pace in round two was absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. And you could tell that's what Jeremy Stevens likes. Jeremy Stevens likes that pace. So Mason Jones was smart. He came out round three, decided to take the pace into his hands, and wrestled a lot. He lands a takedown early, slows the pace down, ends up in like a north-south Kimura. And that was pretty frustrating, seeing him. Frustrating is probably not the right word to use, but it's fucking crazy to me to watch someone that especially when if you can't finish a Kimura from north south when the other person's got like a gi on in a traditional like jiu-jitsu match. I get it, because you can grab onto your gi with that arm that's being attacked, and there's a lot more grips that you can make to defend. But in no gi, in MMA, if you've got someone in a north-south Kimura and you cannot finish that submission, or at least get their hands disconnected, like, that's pitiful. I'm not saying that he should have I'm not saying that the submission should have, like, it should have been more of a threat than it was. Like, that was some white belt technique on the Kimura. And Stevens got out of it. Mason Jones struggled. He was trying to get the hands separated. He even he was attacking the left arm and had the right arm pinned and could have stripped the grip. But his mechanics were just dog shit. Stevens gets out of it. They get back to their feet. Mason hits a mat return, ends up in mount to end the round, 10-9 again. Wins a unanimous decision. It was a banger of a fight. It was really the only barn burner of a fight that was on the card, which sucks. But the craziest part about this is that I could see Jeremy Stevens getting another fight in the UFC, which is fucking crazy because he put on an exciting show. And we've seen it time and time again. If you can put on an exciting show like Michael Chandler, 1-5 in his last 6 fights in the UFC, if you can put on an exciting show, they're going to book you, apparently. But who knows how long Jeremy Stevens is going to stay around in the promotion this time. Mason Jones is an exciting prospect at lightweight. He's a big boy. I'm excited to see him keep moving up in the ranks. I think he's going to provide a lot of issues for some of the guys in the top 15. So Exciting to see who they match him up with against in his next bout. Moving on. Cameron Smotherman and Sirhay Saidi. This is a pretty good striking matchup. Sirhay, his striking is a little bit more slick, a little bit more developed than Cameron Smotherman. This is Cameron Smotherman's second fight in the UFC. Tough matchup to get your second fight in the UFC. There were a couple of flurries in the first round by Saidi, but nothing super substantial. Both guys kind of had their moments, finding their range a little bit in round one, but nothing substantial. Saidi took it 10-9 in the first round, I thought. Round two, early takedown for Saidi, but nothing really crazy. Mainly spent the rest of the round on their feet. Both had their moments again, very similar to round one, but Saidi took it in round two again. And then round three was just kind of the same thing. It was a pretty boring fight. There's not a whole lot to unpack here. You know, Sergey got a couple takedowns, didn't do shit with them. He was a prime example of taking someone down, going chest to chest in top half guard, and then not doing a lick of fucking damage. We have got. I'm not saying that we've got to start penalizing fighters for not doing damage, and it's a hard subject to tackle, because if you've got someone that works hard for a takedown, like, they should keep top position, right? But in the same breath, if you take someone down and you're not doing anything with that top position, there's got to be some sort of stand up rule, or, like, I know the refs have the ability, if they think that the action is being stalled, to stand the fighters up, but can we get some standards or guidelines or fucking something? Because it is such a bad look for the UFC that this is becoming more and more of the standard for people to understand, oh, if I can out wrestle this guy, I can just lay on him and get 4 or 5 minutes of control time and not do dick for damage, but I'll win the fight. And so we're seeing more and more of these types of fights happen, and less of these types of fights, which is what got people into the UFC in the first place. Fucking violence. Two dudes in there scrapping, not giving a fuck about their brain damage and whether or not they're going to remember their grandchildren's name in 15 fucking years. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see this shit. Taking you down, laying on top of you, throwing a couple fucking Where are the fucking 12-6 elbows? Where are they? They're not there. 95% of the roster, when they take the other person down, they're just content fucking laying there. The UFC has got to do something. Implement a rule. Do fucking something. Be more aggressive with your stand-ups if you're the refs. But we're killing the sport with this type of shit. Killing it. And I get the argument, well, they should be able to get up. If they get stuck on bottom, that's their fault. They should be good enough to get on top. And to a certain degree, I do agree. If you're on bottom and you can't get up, that's on you. If you're at the highest level in MMA and you can't get out of bottom side half, that's not our fucking problem. But at the same time, if the guy on top isn't doing shit and is just laying there, that's a problem. That's just as bad of a problem as being on bottom and not being able to get up. If you can control top position, but you can't deliver any damage, that's just as much of a skill issue as being on the bottom and not having any technique to get yourself out. Boring fight. It was definitely not what I thought it was going to be. But this was the start of kind of the main card losing some steam after that Jeremy Stevens fight, big time. And this was another fucking not how I thought that this fight was going to go. Montel Jackson is really, really fast. He's got great crisp striking. Daniel Marcos, 17-0 coming into this fight. Everyone, I think, thought that this was going to be a barn burner. And it was not. It was a fucking snooze fest. I almost fell asleep during this fight. This was right around 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast. so I was starting to get a little tired. And these guys about put me to sleep. Montel Jackson had some really, really beautiful foot sweeps. Um, but once he got Daniel Marcos to the ground, not a whole lot of volume. Montel controlled a lot of the first round. Um, Marcos did get a takedown at the end of round 1, but didn't do shit with it. Round 2, a lot of the same thing. Montel hits a foot sweep, doesn't do shit with it. They both kind of pitter patter around. Marcos starts wrestling a little bit more. And then by round 3, Marcos was just wrestling. He understood that he wasn't going to get it done on the feet, and his whole game plan changed and went 100% geared towards wrestling. Made the fight even more boring. He threw 18 strikes going into the third round. So the third round, he threw more strikes. Oh my God, it was such a fucking boring fight. Such a boring fight. And all the way up until like the last 10 seconds, then Montel cinches up an anaconda choke, rolls, does the anaconda roll, and then can't finish the choke. So waited the entire round or the entire fight to do anything worth a fuck, and then throws in an anaconda, not able to finish it. 30-27 very clearly. Daniel Marcos, if you would have told me that he was 17-0 going into that fight, I would have looked at you like you were fucking crazy. Like you were crazy. And piss poor sportsmanship too. As soon as the decision was read, he stormed out of there like a fucking toddler. Didn't shake Montel's hand, didn't shake his coach's hand, lost his 0 and took it like an absolute puss. So I hope this guy continues to get fraud checked, because he did big time. I hope that it's not another full year before we see Montel fight, because historically he's a very fun fighter to watch. This fight, he didn't really put it on. It happens, but really, really, really killed the vibe of the fight card here, till we got to this fight. D-Rod, Ponzinibbio, battle of the geriatrics. That's what this fight card felt like. We had so many old people on this fight that were pushing 40 plus 40 that it just felt like we were watching a geriatric fight night. And I came to that realization last night. I was thinking about it when after the card ended. I pulled up the rankings, and it's kind of wild. Like if you look at the top 5, especially in like the lightweight division, other than Max, like mid 30s, mid 30s, mid 30s. He's getting towards 40. He's getting towards 40. Mid 30s. He's getting towards 40. Like he's getting there. He's getting a lot. Like we've got some old heads in the UFC. Like, in the next couple years, a lot of these names are going to be gone. A lot of them. And we're going to continue to see fights of 36, 38-year-olds here in the next couple years. But these 38-year-olds put on one of the more exciting fights. What's really nice about what we knew going into this fight is that D-Rod is southpaw. Santiago Ponzinibbio is orthodox. So you knew going into this fight that each of these guys were probably going to land some pretty good body kicks. And they did. They did. Couple body kicks each, but D-Rod really had the only exciting spot in round 1, left hook that rocked Ponzinibbio. I'm not sure how he didn't get him out of there. He didn't really empty the tank to try and get Ponzo out of there, but he did definitely try and pour it on him a little bit. Wasn't able to get him out of there. Round 2, Ponzinibbio had a little bit of a better round. He caught D-Rod a couple times and mixed in a little bit of wrestling. So it was like he came to life a little bit in round 2. And he got D-Rod to the mat once or twice. Got him to the mat at the end of the round. It was a pretty even round on the feet. I would have to look at the scorecards on how the judges scored the first and second round, but I'm not sure if Santiago did enough to take round two. Maybe if he that takedown took round two on one or two of the judges' scorecards, but it didn't matter because round three, D-Rod fucking sleeps him with a left from hell. Gets on the mic, promotes his rap career that's going to be taken off. I mean, D-Rod looks like he just got out of the Los Angeles County Prison doing time for some fucking gnarly shit. So it doesn't surprise me that as he's on the curtail of his UFC career, that he's transitioning into rap. So he walked out to his own rap song, Flatlines Ponzinibbio, gives himself a harmless plug at the end of the fight, and gets back in the win column after a couple fight losing streak. So Ponzinibbio, we're probably going to see him cut from the organization. Maybe one more fight, but I would assume we're probably going to see him because he's had a couple TKOs. Yeah, in his last two fights of that he last three out of his last three fights, two of them have been TKOs. So pretty strong schedule, but I don't know how much more Ponzinibbio's got. I don't know. Good win for D-Rod though. Not like he's going to be making a push towards the title at 38, I don't think, but nonetheless, moving on. Where do we start here, guys? Bo Nickal got fraud checked harder than any rising superstar ever has, I think, in the UFC, at least modern UFC. The UFC was pushing this guy down our throats. A lot of it was fan created. Like his hate created a lot of hype behind this guy because a lot of people had very unrealistic expectations for Bo Nickal. He didn't help himself saying that he was going to, beat Hamza and then coming out with lackluster striking against Craig and saying he's a natural striker and he's going to show us this, blah, blah, blah. Buddy, if you're going to be telling us you're a natural striker, you can't be wincing like a kid in the schoolyard when they're getting bullied, when you're getting punched in the UFC. It was not a good visual. The first time he got tagged by Rainier, you could tell he did not like it. I don't know if he's not getting rocked in the training room. I mean, not that you should be rocking your training partners in the training room, but if that's his reaction of getting hit, like, is he sparring hard or are his partners not tagging him? Like, it looked like that was the first time Bo Nickal had ever been hit hard before in his life, and he fucking crumpled. Even before the last knee that really ultimately ended the fight, there were a couple body shots that Rainier landed that you could just visibly see on Bo's face, him wincing. And it was not a good look. It was not a good look. Round one, Bo Nickal took him down and jumps on a submission prematurely. Very low IQ. I think he has a lot of faith in his ability to create scrambles. Obviously, with his wrestling pedigree, that makes sense. But against someone like Rainier that's got good submissions, when you make low IQ decisions like that and you give up a dominant position on top and end up on bottom against a guy like this, that's the type of shit that gets you in trouble. Bo managed to stay safe in the early grappling exchanges in round one, but DeRitter was definitely getting the best of him. I had DeRitter winning in round one. Round two, Rainier comes out, and it's a higher pace, both of them. I think that Rainier is clearly, at this point, we can all see a better striker, and there's not going to be much of a threat from Bo on the feet at all. And not that we thought that there was, but it was very clear that DeRitter's striking and jiu-jitsu was miles ahead of Bo. This was just too much of a step up in competition for Bo Nickal. They were trying to get him on a rocket ship to the top, and it fizzled out very fucking quickly. But he put the pace on Bo. He came out in the second round and put it on him. And this is exactly what I said was going to happen in my predictions video, is that when you put the pressure on Bo and he doesn't like it, he's going to wrestle. And that's exactly what happened. He did not like the pace that DeRitter was putting on him, so he tried to wrestle early. Renier kind of mitigated the wrestling and then landed that nasty knee to like right under the solar plexus. Some people were saying it was like in the rib or in the kidney. I don't think it was. I don't know if it was a kidney shot. I don't know if it was far enough back for a kidney or a liver. Excuse me, not a kidney. Jesus Christ, liver's in your back or kidney. So I don't know if it was a liver shot or not. But regardless, it was a nasty fucking knee right under the solar plexus, and he crumpled, covered up, looked like he was getting bullied on the playground. Not a good look. Biggest fraud check in modern day UFC history for a rising superstar. This would have been like if Sean O'Malley went and just got folded by Peter Yan and just beat up for 2 rounds and then finished very easily, right? Everyone would have been like, wow, Sean O'Malley is a fucking fraud. He's not what the UFC has been saying he is. This is what happened to Bo Nickal. It's going to be really difficult, and he's going to have to make an absolute statement when he comes back in his next fight to get the fans back on his side. Not that he really had the fans on his side in the first place, but after this performance, he's going to need to come out and get a good finish in his next fight to get some fans back on his side. And I said it again in my predictions video. Bo Nickal is a world-class wrestler, and I'm not saying that NCAA collegiate wrestling translates well to MMA in general, but when you have that pedigree and background in wrestling, you should fucking use it more than you do use it, Bo. I get that you want to prove that you're improving other areas of your game, but you cannot neglect the area that you are literally better than everyone in, supposedly. Cody Brundage did throw him again across the octagon, but you can't just neglect the best part of your game because you want to prove to other people or to the fans that you're making improvements in other areas of your game. Like that is fucking stupid. That is about as low IQ as it gets. That's some Michael Chandler low IQ stuff there. Use your wrestling, man. Use your wrestling. If you don't use your wrestling, people are not going to be scared of it. If you don't, and if you do use your wrestling, you have to have some sort of threat that comes along with it, right? Like I talked about, you can't just sit there and lay on them. You can't just think about wrestling scrambles and catching submissions in the wrestling scrambles. He looked very, very out of place. Very out of place. Renier calls for a fight with Sean Strickland. I'm not quite sure if that makes sense. I mean, that'd be 13 versus number 2. That'd be a huge, huge jump up. Not saying that the UFC won't make that fight, but I think there's better fights to make. Honestly, I'm not really interested in a Sean Strickland fight at this moment with Renier. I'd like to see him fight someone in this area first before he gets a Sean Strickland. Maybe a Jared Cannonier. That'd be a fun fight. Fluffy. That'd be cool. Anthony Hernandez. In my opinion, Anthony Hernandez has better wrestling for MMA than Bo Nickal does, truthfully, and he's more of a better representation of American wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I think that would be a super fun fight, Renier versus Anthony Hernandez. Old Fluffy. Fluffy's been on a tear, too. That'd be a very, very fun fight. So, Curious to see who they give him next, but Bo Nickal, he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. He's going to need to implement a new game plan moving into his next fight. He cannot just keep relying on this really shitty striking that he is attempting to improve upon. So, fraud checked super hard. Ranier continuing his win streak. That didn't necessarily go how I thought it was going to go. I thought Ranier was going to sub him. Didn't see him getting a TKO, but goes to show you, he may have 13 wins by sub, but he's dangerous on the feet. He's got some good striking. He's not just a jiu-jitsu guy. We see it a lot of times where someone that's really good at jiu-jitsu, like a Mackenzie Dern, for instance, right? There's plenty of guys that are that way with their jiu-jitsu. You know, Bryce Mitchell is kind of similar, right? Like he's got such good jiu-jitsu that his striking is so shitty, but people kind of ignore it because if he gets a takedown, blah blah blah. Ranier's not like that. He's got really good jiu-jitsu, but he's also got pretty crisp striking too. So if he continues to develop his striking, and I could see him being a problem for a lot of guys in middleweight, because Anthony Hernandez has been a really big issue for guys at middleweight, especially his unrelentless pressure, really good jiu-jitsu. So I would like to see those guys matched up next. That's a very fun fight. Moving on to the main event. Kind of a weird one. Corey Sandhagen had a lot of intensity coming out in this one. You could just see it in his face. He did not want to drop another fight this close to getting a title shot. So he looked really good in round one on the feet, stunned Figgy with an uppercut, and then Figgy took him down. But Corey scrambled, ended up on top, and was very active with his ground and pound. He had 52 ground strikes in round one. That is what we're looking for. Again, very similar to Jillian Rodriguez. If Corey Sandhagen gets you to the ground, he's not just going to lay on you. He's not. He has in the past, don't get me wrong, but that was when he had hurt his elbow and was just trying to get the win. I can't remember who that was against. Who was that against that he fucked his elbow up? Was it against Cheeto? I think it was against Cheeto. But he fucked his elbow up, and then he wrestled a lot. But either way, other than that one fight, when Sandhagen gets you to the ground, he's trying to get you out of there. He's 135 pounds, and he throws harder ground and pound than some of the big boys on this card. But he was very, very active in his ground and pound. Looked really good in round one. Round two, Figgy does the same shit as round one and drops in on a leg. I don't really know what Figgy's game plan was. I mean, Corey Sandhagen works with Ryan Hall, so he's very, very comfortable with leg locks. And you would think when you're scouting your opponent, you would think that would have come up in Figgy's camp of, hey, this guy works with Ryan Hall. He's probably pretty confident when it comes to leg locks. That probably shouldn't be the method that we go. But Davison Figueiredo is attempting really, really slappy 50-50 single leg X, moves into like, he had an opportunity to move into like a saddle position and ended up in the same position that he ended up getting hurt in that ended the fight, where he was in a 50-50, didn't make the adjustment when Corey Sandhagen pressured forward into him and kind of like got his hips forward. And that just like tangled him up and gave Sandhagen all the room that he needed to throw more ground strikes. So round two was a very similar story to round one. And Figgy kept attacking legs. And I'm not quite sure why. After that first entanglement with Corey, that should have been the last time that Figgy tried to go for a leg. He should have known right then and there, okay, he's more competent than me on the ground, especially where the leg locks are. I probably shouldn't do this anymore. So he comes out in round two and does the same shit. Like, what are we doing, Figgy? And it sucks because You got Sandhagen, who has dropped his last few fights when it really matters to get to the title. And then this was truly going to be like, if he disposes of Figgy, we're going to see him fight for the title next, whether it's against O'Malley or Merab. And it sucks because he was, I think, going to finish Figueiredo or bring him to a decision and dominate. But now, because some weird shit happened, people might not hold the same merit as they would have if Corey would have continued to dominate for another 3 rounds, took him to a decision, or maybe TKO'd him with some ground strikes, right? Not saying that people are taking away from this win, but it sucks because Corey was definitely dominating the fight. 11 total strikes thrown, man. Like that's crazy. Almost 10 minutes of fighting, and that's damn near 1 strike a minute. So props to Sandhagen. He was staying super safe, switching stances. I mean, watching his footwork is awesome. I mean, Sandhagen is such a fun striker. I think we all selfishly now I want to see O'Malley beat Merab. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, but the fans need that fight. O'Malley versus Sandhagen there's no way that fight's boring. Both of those guys have such fun striking. So, selfishly, I hope Merab loses to O'Malley in their fight next month, and we get treated to a Sandhagen O'Malley fight. If that fight doesn't happen soon, I'm going to be pissed. We as fans have wanted that fight for probably 2 years now. We were calling for it before Sean O'Malley got that Peter Yan fight where he was ranked 13, I believe, and fought Yan at number 2. So I think a lot of fans wanted to see him fight Sandhagen before he got a top 5 opponent, or a top 3, really. But Sandhagen gets it done. Figgy, he looks really good at bantamweight for the most part, but I don't know. 37. How much more does Davison have, right? He's getting up there too. He was ranked 5. He'll probably stay around rank 5 since Corey was, I think Corey was 4, right? Where are the bantamweights? Yeah, Corey was 4, Davison's 5. So not much is going to change here in the top 5, but Corey is definitely going to be next for the title shot, which is great. He deserves it. He's had a hell of a run, had some adversity and came back from it. So I'm glad that Corey Sandhagen is likely going to get the next title shot. But overall, this card was very mids, very mids. A couple of the fights really took the steam out of the night. Montel Jackson, Cameron Smotherman really killed it. I mean, you cannot ask for a better fight to start the main card than Jeremy Stephens and Mason Jones. I mean, they set the tone, and if these two would have kept it going, I mean, it would have been a crazy fight. It would have been all finishes, but or except for this one. But these two were just, snooze fests and really killed the momentum that Jeremy Stephens and Mason Jones started. And then we didn't really pick it back up until Ponzinibbio. So yeah, I mean, it was a to be expected fight night, nothing special. We've got a big pay-per-view coming up after the Burns versus Morales is what we got next. That's in 2 weekends, so we got next weekend off. But hopefully between now and then, we get some good news. We are still waiting on the John Jones, Tom Aspinall fight announcement. We're still waiting on International Fight Week news, but overall, very mediocre card. Love to hear y'all's thoughts on how the main event played out and what you think about Bo Nickal getting fraud checked. I certainly thought that there was a strong possibility of that happening. So we'll see how he bounces back from it. If you stuck around this long, thanks for checking the video out. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you in the next one.